Hello and welcome to Up Your Wine Game. Today I'm going to be talking about simplicity versus complexity in wine. Most of the wines that I review and talk about on this channel are wines that are $20 or less. And it's hard to find wines that are complex for $20 or less, quite honestly. Wines that I personally pay a lot of money for tend to be wines that are complex. I pay for complexity in my wines. That said, I enjoy simple wines. I drink wine every day, have for the past 30 plus years. Most of those wines are simple. That doesn't mean I don't enjoy them. It just means that they're balanced and they're matching what I am eating, for example. Most Prosecco, for example, most Cava, very affordable, anywhere from $8 to $15, is usually very simple, but it's clean, it's well made, it's balanced, and that's all I'm looking for. So think about simplicity. When you're smelling a wine or tasting a wine, it's usually going to smell like just fruit, right? When I think of a wine that is simple, you put your nose in it, you taste it, it smells and tastes like, your primary fruits, red fruit, dark fruit, whatever it might be. As you move from simplicity into a complex wine, then you're looking at the non-edibles, if you will, the earth, the rocks, what smells like smoke and that sort of thing. That's usually things that are added to the wine. It could be a barrel, it could be whatever, but that's kind of the secondary aromas or flavors that you get into a wine. And then that third level of complexity, if you will, are things that have to do with usually the terroir, where the grapes were actually grown, specific vineyard sites. There are, aging vessels, age itself, that adds to it. So it's usually very hard to find a $10, $15 bottle of wine that has any complexity to it. But that's okay, right? We'll get to that. And kind of my job here and what I'm looking for, when and if I find wines that are under $20 that I think have some complexity to them, that's where I will definitely reach out and say, hey guys, check this out, because you're not going to find this level of complexity in wines usually that are in this price range, right? It's easy to go out and spend $50, $60, $100 on a bottle of wine. It better have complexity is my whole thing. That's why I rarely, if ever, will spend 40, 50 plus bucks unless I know it's a wine that's going to have some complexity, a wine that I can have a sip of and say, oh wow, there's a lot going on here, and it invites me to put my nose back in the glass, have another sip, because there's a lot going on. Those are, i vini di meditazione, for example, that the Italians would say. You're not going to serve someone, this is what people like, I love Barolo, I love Brunello. That's great. Those are special occasion wines that are complex. And what you're having at the table, whether, if you're having them alone, fine, because those are wines that you sit back, you think about, you taste them, and you take it all in. But if you're having food with that, my thing is simple wine, simple food, right? So if I've got something layered, like an ossobuco with flavors that are intertwined and layered in the whole bit, then yes, give me a wine with complexity. But if I'm just sitting around having a simple plate of carbonara or just basic pasta with red sauce, give me a simple wine. I don't need a wine that is complex for that. So just kind of getting this out here so that when you hear me talk about a wine being simple, a lot of times I'll smell a wine and I'm like, oh, the nose is simple, or it's a simple wine. That's fine. That's what I'm looking for in a wine that's 10 to 20 bucks. I'm looking for balance first and foremost, and varietal typicity. But there's not going to be a lot of complexity to it. That's fine. We're okay with that. But I will say, when and if I find wines $20 or under that have complexity, I'll definitely make a shout out, because those wines are worth seeking out. And that's where you can see those secondary and tertiary aromas and flavors come through, and it changes your whole, kind of wine drinking experience. So anyway, that's just a note on simplicity and complexity. I hope you have enjoyed it. Until next time, take care, drink well.